All right, what's up, guys? So I am with Justin, and he's the Director of Sustainability here at University of Louisville.
Yeah.
And we're at the trade station and at the Garden Commons, where they have a bunch of raised beds, and he's gonna kind of talk about what they're doing here, a bunch of cool stuff,
Yeah.
and yeah.
Welcome everybody to the University of Louisville. We started growing food on campus in 2010. That's when ground was broken on this Garden Commons, which was 2 locations ago in the original Cultural Center, which is now the site of our Belknap Village North Dorm, which is great to have here. We now have 900 beds right here in the heart of campus with not a single parking spot for it.
Oh, wow.
It's car-free living right by the garden, which is just fantastic. And of course, we added the trade station recently. We also have a free store donation bin right here for our free store for stuff. We're also, you can see, getting rainwater off of the roof of the Baptist Center here. We got 500 gallons of rainwater that we can use for irrigation of our garden. We also do some demonstration solar with a solar charging umbrella and little solar lights. But I'm just going to take you around and show you a little bit of what's going on here. First of all, we have a little theme of food forest on campus too, not just growing vegetables and raised beds. We actually have 2 gardens on campus. In a minute, we'll take you to the other one, which is even more of a food forest. But we're trying to get it going right here in the heart of campus too, as we're a Tree Campus USA from the Arbor Day Foundation. So recently we planted some new fruits that we added. This is a native persimmon tree. The persimmon is like a date and it's native here in Kentucky, and it's the very last fruit of the season. It stays on after all the leaves fall. You got to let it shrivel, and it's like a date. It's delicious. And then we've got 3 pawpaws, and we just planted a peach tree down at the end. Over here in the shade, we've got a serviceberry, also a native fruit, and a couple plum trees as well. So we're trying to build out the perennial orchards as well as our annuals that we grow in raised beds here. We've got some self-seeding things, like our chamomile is going nuts right now in the middle of June. It's delicious. This is the time of year to just walk through and smell the garden. You know what I'm talking about? But we're harvesting it to make tea. Of course, we've got, the tomatoes. We've got some beans. We've got some onions. We've got some okra just coming up. We're gonna have to thin it out. It's nice. A little dense. We're gonna have to. Those are seeds we saved from last year, which is a nice thing we teach students about sustainability. Right? There's perennial crops that'll sort of take care of themselves, and then we can also save our own seeds from annuals, like our okra, like we did last year. We've got lettuce coming in this time of year. It's looking good. This is a good time to eat some lettuce, and we've got more herbs too. The sage blossoms are beautiful this time of year. The purple sage blossoms are awesome. We've got some basil coming up to match with the tomatoes. These are actually potatoes next to them. We'll harvest those in about a month or so. Look at our peas. Oh man, I can eat the peas.
Yeah.
Right off the vine. This is the time of year to celebrate our peas for sure. We try and mix in a few flowers as well. In fact, this whole bed is the first time we've tried this. Is a native flower bed. We'll see. Let's experiment.
Nice.
We just seeded the whole thing with a native seed mix, and we'll have to see how it does.
That's awesome.
Good time of year for some of our greens, doing really well. Some of our kales and collards. The squashes and melons are just tiny this time of year. And then we have a whole potato box right over here.
Nice.
So what makes this garden work? First of all, it's volunteer power. We have weekly gatherings here and workshops as well. The whole community is welcome. Obviously, students, faculty, and staff, but even community members are welcome. It's not the kind of community garden where you own a plot. It's all grown in community, and it's for the community. So feel free to come anytime and sample things. But we do have weekly gatherings if you've never gardened before and you just want to come get your hands a little dirty. So yeah, volunteer power makes it happen. But what I really was going to say is that you can see there's an incredible diversity of things here. And by planting a diverse polyculture, we're able to tap into nature's power to protect itself. The other key to that, so it's not just one box of one thing that's going to get wiped out by a certain pest that comes along. But the other key is the health of the soil itself. And actually, when we moved this garden 3 times, I made sure we moved the actual soil because this is the most important part of the garden. And why do I say that? Because the health of our plants comes from the health of our soil. And you can't have healthy plants without healthy soil. So in industrial agriculture, we try and overcome that by adding all these chemical inputs and throwing every technological tool we have at beating back Mother Nature. Whereas if we just work with nature, we could be so much more successful with so much less work, right? It's a system that really sustains itself as long as we ensure that our soils are healthy. And how do we get healthy soils? Through compost, which is right here. This is the one place on campus where anybody can come and drop off compost. So we've got a traditional like backyard style compost bin, right? It fills up so fast that we can't even let it compost in sight, which is why we added some of these rolling bins that are more easy to manage. This is in partnership with the Louisville Compost Co-op that works with U of L's Community Composting Project, which is a block away. Also a volunteer opportunity every Sunday at noon. We call it Compost Church. You can come praise the worms with us. We're taking organics from on campus and all kinds of off campus sources with the Louisville Compost Co-op. Anybody in a household can sign up for $20 a month to get a bucket picked up at their house every week and delivered to our campus where we compost it, turn it into new food. So we are closing the loop on food waste here in our garden. Over here we have our, what I call the messy bed, but our in-ground beds. First of all, right here, this is all volunteer stuff from the compost, right? Seeds that just fell out. I mean, look at this squash. It's got blossoms on it already. We didn't plant this. This is just letting nature do its own thing. Of course, our sunflowers too. But we've got black raspberries. We've got red raspberries. This is the time of year for them. I'm gonna have one right now. Some delicious red raspberries.
Nice.
And then we've got some asparagus, which you can see has gone up to seed now. And so it's replanting for the next year. So we've really got a variety of things here to show people what sustainable urban agriculture looks like as opposed to conventional tidy agriculture that they're used to seeing, where the only way it's kept so tidy is by keeping nature at bay and spending a lot of money and time. We don't need to do that. We could be much more successful if we go sustainable and organic like we're doing here. So let's go take a look at our food forest over at Urban and Public Affairs.
Awesome. All right, and now we are at the other garden.
Boom! This is our Urban and Public Affairs garden here, hosted by the Department of Urban and Public Affairs, which also has our undergraduate major in sustainability and minor in sustainability. So we've taken this old building, which is actually the old headquarters of Standard Oil in Louisville, and we're literally greening it up. So this area you're looking at used to be just grass that nobody used, and we had to come in and mow with fossil fuels. And now you hear birdsong, you see flowers, you see bees, and you see food happening here in our Urban and Public Affairs horticulture zone, it's called. So yeah, we got the awesome purple cone flowers coming up right now, echinacea. That's another persimmon, a native persimmon tree that we planted. I planted this pawpaw tree a few years ago, and man, just look at the fruits we're gonna get. Big hands of pawpaws is very productive. So this is just part of our food forest. Behind it is a maple tree that was a volunteer. It just came up, right? And now we tap maples on campus and make maple syrup. And then behind it is another very common volunteer, a mulberry tree. And right now is mulberry season in early June. We can walk around behind the hive, I would recommend. We got beehives right here. This beehive recently got moved from the Life Sciences building on the roof. It's one of two in our apiary. And then we've got our mulberries, which are ripe right now. So you can just reach up and enjoy some delicious mulberries. There's so many different kinds of mulberries. This is not a native fruit, but it is very thriving in our community. And you'll find the birds plant them all along the fence lines throughout Louisville, right? So maybe you don't want them everywhere, but just sometimes let some come up and see what you get. You might get some really good fruit like this. And of course, pawpaws, you can see, reproduce like crazy. They make their own forest. So anytime someone wants a baby pawpaw, I'm happy to dig them up and share them with them. They're very popular. So yeah, we're getting honey now out of our beehives, as well as maple syrup every winter. And so we have a pancake party in April where we let people sample this year's honey and maple syrup harvest. Let me show you some other food over here. We've got going some strawberries low to the ground. They're pretty much done for the season, being taken over now by our red raspberries, as you can see. It's that time of year. This is the first flower I've seen so far of our passion fruit. The native passion fruit is called a maypop, and it grows on this lovely vine. It will just come up by itself. You can transplant them too. We've tried to spread them around. They make a little green ball that then turns yellow and starts to shrivel a little bit. That's when it's sweet and ready to eat. And it tastes just like a passion fruit from the tropics does, but it's local to Louisville. And if you just stop mowing, it might just grow in your yard, right? And the pollinators love it too. You'll see bumblebees all over those flowers in a minute. So more mint and purple coneflower as well as sunflowers. And the sunflowers just are self-seeding. We don't plant these either. We do have a bird feeder over there with some sunflower seeds in it, and the birds help us spread the seeds around and get the sunflower forest going every year. But over here are our 4 raised beds that were put in 2013. That's when students in urban and public affairs self-organized to say, yeah, we want a garden here in this area, which was, again, just a lawn doing no good for nobody. And the first thing we said is you need to start with compost. So we've got compost bins over here as well, a couple of them, and we collect compost in the break room inside. And then we've also got another 500 gallons of rainwater, actually quite a few different rain barrels on all the downspouts around here. As well as our greenhouse is now over here. All of this was, hey, there's Savannah, one of our garden interns, and she is helping lead our work day. We gather here every week too. Another thing to point out, it's daylily season, and did you know that you can eat every part of a daylily? And this is a delicious vegetable, actually. I love to throw it in stir fries or just throw it on salads. You can also eat the leaves. They're especially good when they're young and tender. And I believe you can eat the roots too. I've never tried that, but the whole thing is edible. So a delicious perennial.
Wow. Yeah.
Daylilies. Yeah, exactly. You can see we've let the mint kind of go crazy. It's taken over, but we have more tomatoes, a beautiful zucchini coming up. No fruits yet. These are some of our garlics, which are getting ready to harvest. So, a garlic is ready to harvest when about 4 of the leaves die. The lower 4 leaves will start dying back. And each of those leaves are going to wrap around the head. And so that's the paper on a garlic. And that's how you know when it's drying out and ready, is when those leaves that lead to that paper are dying back finally. So we'll be able to harvest those and have a garlic fest. Maybe it's pesto time. We've got some things growing up. Some trellises too, like melons we like to do. We also planted some sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes have done really good in this garden. And so here's the sweet potatoes we just planted to grow up the trellis. Sweet potato starting is super easy, but it's non-commercial. Like, you don't find them for sale much. All you got to do is stick a sweet potato in a jar with some water for a couple months in the winter. You start around March, and eventually they'll start sprouting and they'll start sending off roots, and you just pluck off those sprouts, hopefully with a little root attached, and you stick them in the ground, and they're really an easy crop to grow. And the leaves of the sweet potato are edible as well, and super, super nutritious, a great food. We've got some kale in here too, of course. Some more chamomile that just came up, and some more potatoes that are actually flowering right now, but we'll be harvesting those and then letting the sweet potatoes take over the rest of this bed. Throughout here is a real food forest. That's why I called it food forest, because we've got a whole line of fruit trees here. This is a donut peach. So it makes a flat style donut that is really a good keeper. There, you can see one there that's green. So they'll be ready in about a month or so. And they're not super dark orange and not super juicy. So they actually are a little better keepers than a traditional peach is. And then this is a whole line of our native service berries. And each year we do a service berry foraging workshop in late May. They're also known as June berries because June 1st is kind of the prime time for service berries. And we have just finished the season, basically. All the good fruit is gone. The birds have enjoyed the upper ones and we've enjoyed the lower ones. But we go out, they're ripe for about 2 weeks. And so we try and get people at the beginning of the season to recognize them, because they're planted all over town as a common street tree. And it's just like a blueberry in size, shape, color, and a little bit in taste, but it's in the almond family. So they're a little bit nuttier than a blueberry would be. But you can use them in pancakes and scones and anything else you would throw blueberries on, granola. So we just encourage people to fill up pails of them and put them in your freezer so you can enjoy fruit all year long. And then at the very end is a cherry tree, which has also just finished its season. Delicious cherries. So this is perfect because it's just something people pass by from the parking lot or walking down the alley, and you can see and grab food right there, right? And it's also an oasis in this asphalt jungle urban heat island, right? Where people can do a little bit of nature bathing and sort of enjoy the fruits of nature in the midst of all this other, like, otherwise hot asphalt. But because of that urban heat island, things grow a little faster and quicker here. It's actually its own little microclimate, right? Compared to other gardens in town, even, I've noticed. So that's our 2 food gardens here on campus, and we encourage the public to check us out and come get involved. You can learn about it at louisville.edu/sustainability.
Awesome.